Hello, it is the end of January 2025, and of course that means that AEW has finished their broadcast month of January. I'm here to tell you 5 things that I liked and 5 things that I wasn't really fond of in the month of January. Hello once again, Ben's a Lance here. Make sure to follow me on Blue Sky if you would like to. Now today simply I'm going to be going through 5 things, 5 aspects, 5 characters, 5 whatevers from AEW in the month of January that I liked. I'll also be giving you 5 things I wasn't really a fan of, and hopefully with some suggestions of how we can change those things. Now before we get going, make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. You know what? Maybe share this with somebody too if you happen to agree or disagree. I'm down with the hateful comments because I simply won't respond to them. Now I will be presenting this in a way as almost like a compliment sandwich, if you will, of things that I want to have on a sandwich and things that I don't like to have on sandwiches. Warm lettuce. Why do you keep on putting that in sandwiches? Don't. Lettuce is cold. Also note that this is just for Dynamites and Collisions that have aired the month of January 2025. The Collision that will be airing this Saturday is technically in February, even though they taped it in January. I don't make the rules. Wait, I do make the rules, and that doesn't count. Now, the first thing that I truly loved in January, this was a carryover from December, was the different venues that AEW's been using. Each venue that we visited so far in the month of January has had a different setup, a different feel, a different layout, a different look on the TV. Now, as we've touched on before, these venues are a little bit smaller, and these houses look a lot better on TV. You can tell the crowds are a lot more into it too. And I think that sort of has to go hand in hand. This is definitely something that AEW should keep up throughout the rest of 2025, / they should keep this up as long as they absolutely need to. I, for one, am all here for it. Thing I didn't like: the misogyny from MJF and Jeff Jarrett. It's 2025. It's fucking 2025. Here's my suggestion to fix that problem. Stop being misogynistic pricks. Moving on. Another factor that I absolutely loved in January was the return of Kenny Omega / Kenny and Will Ospreay taking on the Don Callis family. Now, if you've been a fan of AEW since day one, Kenny Omega has been almost synonymous with, quote, the feeling. Particularly, I love that feeling, and I love Kenny Omega, and I'm glad that he's back. I'm also super stoked that he's paired with Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is someone that I've long liked and I have truly fallen in love with since I've seen him more and more on my AEW television. The way that his character has naturally blossomed in front of our eyes has been truly beautiful. The pairing with him and Kenny versus the Don Callis family has been getting a lot of attention on it and should get a lot of attention going forward. Kenny and Will are undoubtedly 2 of the biggest and highest stars in AEW, and there should be, rightfully so, a heavy focus on these 2 going forward, because you know how this is going to end, with these 2 facing off. Now on to a thing that I wasn't particularly fond of: the booking of Private Party. You know, Private Party was one of the first tag teams in AEW that I fell in love with. There's something about 2 guys who were literally just having the time of their life. You can see that Zay and Quinn are just having a baller of a time, and who wouldn't want to be part of that infectious energy? Now, I was over the moon when Private Party won the tag team titles finally. It only took 5 years. However, the booking after their initial win was lackluster. I don't mean to sound like a negative Nancy. I think that they potentially had something cooking with the Top Flight, Action Andretti, Leo Rush falling out, all those 3 feuding. I think the problem was there wasn't really a big heel tag team at the time to push Private Party forward. Don't get me wrong, I love the Hurt Syndicate. Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP, sign me up any day of the week. However, I don't think that the Hurt Syndicate's championship win should have come at Private Party's expense. We could have built up Private Party a little bit more, so when the Hurt Syndicate took the belts off of Private Party, we might have felt a little something, more in our core as opposed to just being happy that Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley won a tag team title together. How do you fix this? You simply put more focus on the tag division. We have a lot of tag teams. We have more now that the Hurt Syndicate are here. This is a prime possibility for that whole division to be lifted up. And I think that's how we fix this in the future. One more thing that I loved in January 2025, the development of Hangman Adam Page. Hangman spent most of 2024 burning down people's houses, sticking syringes into people's cheeks, and he started off 2025 with ending the career of Christopher Daniels. But that's where it gets a little juicy. When Daniels told Hangman that he was having to retire due to the physical punishment, you could tell that Hangman was a little surprised, if not a little emotionally distraught. Which brings us to this week's Dynamite, where Hangman was seen searching for Swerve, but it didn't look like he was searching for Swerve to lay a beatdown on him. It almost looked like he was looking for Swerve to issue maybe an apology, maybe for both of them to talk and hug it out, maybe kiss. Anyway, the further development of our anxious millennial cowboy over really the entirety of AEW's broadcast run has been outstanding, and if you really look at it, Hangman is the main character. He's never done anything wrong. Now, another thing that I did not like, the direction of the Death Riders. I say this with a little tiny asterisk that I'll hopefully put right there, in that the direction of the Death Riders has been sort of slow so far. Already talked about Jeff Jarrett. I don't want to talk about him as it pertains to Death Riders anymore because Claudio did his job, even though it took a lot of help from Jon Moxley for Claudio to do his job. But as we saw in the close-up with Renee Paquette, the Death Riders sort of do have a plan. They sort of do have a mission statement, but at this point it's still a little wonky. Considering the players involved, I am more than willing to give this a little bit longer of a leash. I'm not really sure how you get out of this, besides, I don't know, having Eddie Kingston come back and talk some fucking sense into everybody. Everybody. Miss you, Mad King. Fourth thing I loved from the month of January was the return and the push of Powerhouse Hobbs. I've been long a fan of Powerhouse Hobbs as well. I mean, how could you not? The man is big. He looks like a fucking brick shit house. He looks like he would rip my throat out with like his pinky and just go beep, and this thing just like explodes off my body. He looks that powerful. Now, pushing Hobbs into a title shot with Moxley that quickly, initially I was a little perturbed. But we saw the showing that Hobbs gave Moxley. Hobbs was only put down after some interference, some shenanigans, and the Bulldog choke that Moxley has only pulled out a handful of times for his toughest opponents. Then you add Hobbs getting into it with Big Bill, the large William. Man, I want that big meaty man to cook. Just let him have run of the kitchen. Let Hobbs do what he wants. He's a big man. I love that meat. Who doesn't love that meat? And I think we're going to see big things from Hobbs in the future. One thing that I wasn't particularly fond of in January was the lack of mid-card focus. Now, part of that was in December, we did have the Continental Classic. I was hoping for a little bit of a follow-up after the tournament was over. We didn't get much. Now I know that Okada is a recent-ish father. He has a newborn at home. And as a father myself, I can understand why you would not want to be sweating it out with a whole bunch of dudes in the ring when you could be with a baby. I mean, that's a pretty easy choice if you ask me. And with that being said, we have still been getting amazing matches from Takeshita and Garcia, who are both our international and TNT champions respectively. However, it seems like all three of the men's mid-card titles have been sort of in a weird limbo-ish state for the month of January. How do we fix that? We put more focus on those guys and those championships. It seems like Daniel Garcia and Lee Moriarty are starting to wrap up again, which, I mean, you put those guys together and I'm watching 60 minutes of that easy. I love those guys. mean, Takeshita, he's with the Don Callis family, obviously, and he's been entangled with that whole situation over there with Callis and Ospreay Omega. You definitely don't want to see him being pulled away from that, but he does have a championship too. Like, yeah, there's a storyline happening, but like, you still got gold to defend. He did defend it against Shibata, yes, but a match. As far as the Continental Classic Championship is concerned, I sort of feel like that belt should just be won during the tournament and not defended outside of the tournament. That's just me. Just a suggestion. I don't know who else I'm talking to besides me as far as that goes. And the fifth thing that I really loved in the month of January was the continuation of the Toni Storm and Mariah May story. When the calendar flipped from 2024 to 2025, we were still engaged with punk rock Toni Storm. Toni time Toni Storm. Toni Storm. Who we had no idea up until recently whether Miss Storm was suffering from amnesia, if this was a weird Storm variant, sort of like the Moxley variants that we talked about earlier this week, or what the hell was going on. As it turned out, Toni Storm is the best actress on the face of the planet. That's not named Meryl Streep. Mariah May, for her part as well, has been playing it to perfection as the cocky, smarmy, big baddie heel bitch. I love it. I will add an addendum, not an asterisk, but an addendum. Bonus things that I love: Harley Cameron, the Gremlin Queen herself. That wrath needs to be all over every show. Harley is money. Highlight Harley Cameron. I can come up with a dozen names for her. She's amazing and the best. Put her on TV more, please. Thank you. And the last thing I didn't like, this ties in with the last thing that I did like, was the booking of the women in general. Con. So we crunched the numbers. For televised matches in the month of January 2025, AEW aired 50 matches, which made the math really easy. You want to guess how many matches the women had? I'll give you a couple seconds. Think about it. Fucking 9. 9. Out of 50 matches that AEW aired in the month of January 2025, out of 50, 9 of them were women. 9 times. It's a simple fix. One woman's match per hour of aired television. Is anybody, no one else is here, but like, you're there. Do you want to see more women's matches? I'm assuming if you're on this channel, you probably do. If you don't, and you're on this channel, get the fuck out. Seriously, the women's roster in AEW is stacked. They just added Megan Bayne amongst other people. A match per show? 9 matches per month? You know, I actually added up further. Total minutes. The men almost had 470 minutes of match time. You know how much time the women had? 88. I don't know how else to say it, but that's some bullshit, man. Now, does the same thing happen in WWE, TNA, whatever company? Probably. It's happened since the dawn of time. I don't know. I thought it was 2025, and I thought we were sort of past that bullshit, and we were into more of equal booking, which we've also never gotten. But like 9 matches in a month, man. Like, your match. I don't even know what the fuck to say, man. You know, I also say that all that with full acknowledgement that I don't know a fuck or a shit about booking a show or even a match. Any of it. Quite obviously, I'm sitting in my spare bedroom in front of a piñata. While I'm also not the world's smartest man, I sure as shit ain't the dumbest. And you can do better. AEW. Calm. And with that, that brings us to the end of the video for the week. I appreciate you spending some time with me this week. That's pretty fucking baller. You're a real one for that. As always, I do have some more videos on my YouTube channel if you want to check those out. That'd be pretty sweet. Once again, I am Vincent Lance. Follow me on that blue sky if you want to, and I'll check you on the other side of the dime. See you next time.